Anonymous, CISA, Meta, advice on AI agents, and an 80-year-old maths problem.
This is Priviso Live.
How's it? And welcome to Priviso Live. I'm Lynn.
And I'm Steven.
And I'm Kayla. And today we are taking you on a journey.
A journey from the slightly alarming through the genuinely embarrassing, past the uncomfortable, all the way to something that is going to make you feel rather good about being alive in 2026.
Well, cautiously good.
Always cautiously good. We are information security people, after all.
Fair point. Let's get into it.
Right, let's start close to home, because this week, the intersection between politics and cyberspace landed squarely on South Africa's doorstep, which is never a comfortable place for it to land.
Yeah, no, not at all.
A hacktivist group called Anonymous Nigeria, affiliated with the Global Anonymous Collective, launched what they are calling Operation South Africa, or #OpSouthAfrica. Now, hacktivism is basically where hacking meets activism. Think of it as cyber protesting, but instead of carrying a sign, you break things and steal data. The campaign included the groups Nullsec Nigeria, the 404 Crew, and Infernalis, and they were not simply making noise. They went after some very specific, very significant targets. We are talking the South African Civil Aviation Authority, the South African National Space Agency, the South African Social Security Agency, the Department of Human Settlements, and the National Housing Finance Corporation. The stolen data includes full databases, citizens' personal information, financial records, and internal employee data.
Which is not nothing. That is a serious collection of sensitive information.
It really is. And the motivation, stated explicitly, was the recent xenophobic violence targeting foreign nationals in South Africa. The message was, stop the attacks on our people or this data gets published. Nullsec Nigeria released a sample to prove they were not bluffing.
And this sits against a broader, uncomfortable backdrop. South Africa is, according to multiple cybersecurity commentators, already on the back foot when it comes to cyber resilience. Government systems remain attractive targets precisely because the defenses, in too many instances, are just not where they need to be.
And it's entirely predictable. Hey, you do not need sophisticated attackers to cause significant damage when the defenses are thin.
The questions this raises go well beyond the technical. Who is accountable when government data is exposed at this scale? What investment is actually going into public sector cybersecurity? And how prepared are we to mount a coordinated response? Because responding to hacktivism requires legal, communications, and technical teams all moving at the same time. This will not be the last time South Africa features in this kind of story, which is exactly why getting the foundations right is not optional.
All right, my turn. And I have to tell you, this is one of those stories where you genuinely do not know whether to laugh or cry. I ended up doing both simultaneously, which is a very specific kind of emotional experience.
Set it up, Stephen.
So, CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency of the United States, the body whose entire reason for existing is to tell the world how to do cybersecurity properly. On the 18th of May, the security journalist Brian Krebs published a report revealing that a contractor working for CISA had been maintaining a public GitHub repository. GitHub, for context, is an online platform where developers store and share code. And this repository was named, and this is completely real, Private CISA.
Oh no.
Oh yes, and it was not private. It was sitting wide open on the public internet since November last year. Inside it, you could find the administrative credentials for 3 Amazon AWS GovCloud accounts. AWS GovCloud, for context, is Amazon's cloud platform built specifically for United States government workloads. You could also find plaintext usernames and passwords for dozens of internal CISA systems and access tokens for the agency's internal software artifactory, which is essentially the library from which CISA builds and deploys all of its own security tools.
So basically the keys, the house, and the spare set they left under the mat.
All of them. An independent security researcher confirmed those credentials were valid and granted high privilege access. The contractor appears to have been using this public repository to synchronize files between a work laptop and a home computer. And many of the passwords followed the format of the platform name followed by the current year.
That is not a password. That is a polite suggestion.
Precisely. CISA says there is currently no evidence the credentials were misused. However, after the repository was taken down, the AWS keys remained active for another 48 hours because someone, somewhere, was in absolutely no hurry. Context that matters. CISA has lost nearly a third of its workforce over the past year. When you cut the people who maintain the standards sometimes travel with them. And the broader lesson for every organization, security culture is not a document. The first thing this contractor did was disable GitHub's built-in secrets detection feature, the one that would have blocked this exposure automatically. You need controls that make bad practices technically impossible, not just technically frowned upon.
Let's move from the embarrassing to the consequential. This week, Meta, the parent company of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, announced that it is cutting 8,000 jobs, representing 10% of its global workforce. The cuts began on Wednesday and are being implemented in 3 waves.
10%, just like that.
Just like that. The people affected include members of Meta's Integrity Team, the group responsible for identifying and removing harmful content and misinformation from the platforms. Also affected are cybersecurity team members and the Content Design Division. In addition to the layoffs, Meta has cancelled plans to hire a further 6,000 people and will shift 7,000 existing employees into AI-related workflow roles. Mark Zuckerberg has been entirely transparent about the logic. Capital expenditure for 2026 is forecast at between $125 billion and $145 billion, more than double the spend from last year, virtually all of it directed at AI infrastructure and the Meta Superintelligence Initiative.
So the humans doing the safety and security work are being replaced by AI doing the safety and security work. That is a very specific kind of irony.
It is. And inside Meta, things are apparently quite tense. As we discussed previously, more than 1,500 employees signed an internal petition objecting to the company collecting their personal data to train its own AI models. One unnamed policy employee told Wired that the workforce feels it is being used to train the AI models that will replace them.
That sentence deserves a moment.
It does.
And it is not unique to Meta. A Goldman Sachs survey this week found that AI-driven layoffs are running at more than 16,000 per month across the technology sector globally. Cisco also announced approximately 4,000 further job cuts this week. This trend has serious momentum. For South African organizations, the governance question is how you manage AI adoption in a way that is both commercially sensible and responsible. Your obligations under the Labour Relations Act are real. The technology may be moving fast. The obligation to govern it thoughtfully moves with it.
Okay, deep breath, because this is where we pivot. Hey, from the gloom to the guidance.
About time.
This week, Harein Oberoi, the Vice President of Data and AI Security at Microsoft, published a piece in InfoSecurity magazine titled, "AI Agents Are Here. Security Must Be an Accelerator for Transformation." And it is worth walking through because it is genuinely useful. So an AI agent. For those less familiar, it is not just a chatbot. An agent is an AI system that can plan, reason, and take actions across your enterprise systems. It reads files, invokes tools, executes workflows, communicates with other agents, and does all of this, often with minimal human oversight. Think of it as giving a very capable new employee complete access to your entire system and then going home for the weekend.
That is not alarming at all.
Just a little bit. And the challenge is that most organizations are still running security controls designed for human users and static applications. Those controls do not stretch to agents. Oberoi identifies 5 things you need to address before your agent deployments outpace your controls. Number 1, establish a continuous inventory of all your AI agents. Shadow agents will appear everywhere and you cannot govern what you cannot see. Number 2, give every agent its own managed identity. Agents must not operate anonymously or inherit a human user's credentials. They need authentication, authorization, and a way to revoke their access, just like any employee. Number 3, constrain what the agent can actually do, not just what data it can access. An HR agent that also has scripting access can, even accidentally, exfiltrate sensitive data. Capability scope is a security decision.
Narrow scope by design.
Exactly. Number 4, extend your data security and compliance controls to follow data through agent-to-agent interactions, not just at the browser or endpoint. And number 5, the sophisticated one, enforce intent-based controls. Just because an agent is technically permitted to perform an action does not mean it should. When an agent drifts from its intended purpose, you detect it and stop it.
Treat the agent like a new employee on probation.
That actually works perfectly, Stephen. And the conclusion Oberoi reaches is the important reframe. Security done well is not a blocker to AI adoption. It is the foundation that makes scaling AI possible. Organizations that get this right will move faster, not slower, because they will have the trust to deploy.
And now, the story I've been saving. Because if the first 4 stories left you feeling reflective about where the world is heading, this one, I think, restores a measure of genuine wonder. On the 20th of May 2026, OpenAI announced that an internal AI reasoning model had independently disproved a mathematical conjecture that had been unsolved for 80 years. The problem was posed by Paul Erdos, a Hungarian mathematician considered one of the most prolific in history. He died in 1996, never having seen this particular question answered.
80 years, just sitting there.
The problem is called the planar unit distance problem. Let me explain it simply because it deserves to be understood. You scatter a large number of points on a flat surface. The question is, how many pairs of those points can you arrange to be exactly 1 unit of distance apart? Erdos had a conjecture, which in mathematics is a rigorous educated guess, that the square grid arrangement comes closest to the theoretical maximum. The AI did not just disprove that conjecture, it discovered a completely new family of constructions using deep algebraic number theory that achieve what is being described as a polynomial improvement over the square grid. To give a sense of scale, the improvement is by a factor of n to the power of 1.014. That is not a marginal tweak. It is a structurally different and better answer.
And this was verified by actual mathematicians.
Independently verified by some of the world's leading mathematicians, including Gowers, Alon, Shankar, and Simerman. Full journal peer review is still underway, but the proof is considered credible at the highest level. And the part I find truly extraordinary, this was not a system built or trained specifically for mathematics. It was not a specialized theorem prover. It was a general-purpose reasoning model that reasoned its way to a proof that 80 years of human mathematical effort had not reached. Scientific American reported that the mathematical community was simply amazed.
As they should be.
And I want to leave you with the observation that ties this back to everything we discussed today. The same class of AI that solved this problem is the same capability arriving in your enterprise as an agent next year. The power is extraordinary, verified, and real. The need to govern it carefully is equally extraordinary and equally real. One does not reduce the other. They travel together.
Very well said.
Well said. And there you have it. We hope you found today's episode interesting. If you did, please share it with your colleagues, your friends, your family. Word of mouth is a strong driver of podcast growth.
If you want to hear more of the same, subscribe to Priviso live on Apple, Samsung, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or YouTube.
And if you need security, risk, or ICT legislation advice, contact Priviso Consulting directly at admin@priviso.co.za.
If you have topics you'd like us to cover or questions about anything we discussed today, reach out to us. We love hearing from our listeners.
I'm Stephen.
And I'm Kayla. Thanks for listening.
Stay secure.
Stay safe, everyone.